Good afternoon, everybody. Firstly, thank you to Trevor, Clive and Ammar for the kind invitation. Feeling a bit ropey after last night, but a fantastic event, and congratulations to the winners and all the nominees of the awards last night. So I realize that I've only got 7.5 minutes, which is half the time that I thought I had. So I'm going to whip through this presentation, and hopefully if there's any questions we can ask at the end. So who am I? So look, I'm an ex-banker for 25 years. The last 5 years I've set up my company. I was in the region, I lived here, I worked here, and I'm now based in London. What we do, we raise debt, we invest, we provide equity, and the purpose of me being here is to talk about the decarbonization part of our industry, and the industry that we have been talking about today. Look, we are not just doing maritime. We help raise money for corporate jets, super yachts, basically driven by our clients because they have made a lot of money in recent years. We're independent when we raise our senior debt and when we raise equity. And because the maritime industry is global, I covered APAC, Middle East, the US, so we have a global footprint and global reach. It's not just me. There's a big team behind me to help me do what we do on those three elements of debt, equity, and decarb. Loads of deals, lots of transactions, lots of advisory, lots of mandates, so we've been successful, thank goodness. And the equity part, these are the companies that I'm a shareholder in, and some of them I am a board director and NED, and therefore that gives me a lot of insight into the fintech as well as the technology part of the maritime industry. In February I was here talking about ILEX. We have now over 300 banks, asset managers, insurance companies, funders on the platform. But you can see that, you can read it through. I believe the presentation will be circulated, so go through in your own pleasure. The only bit I will raise is about in the region. We've invested in a company called Shipfinex, and hopefully we will raise about the tokenization of ships that we're targeting towards the end of this year, and then hopefully more news in early 2025. The two bottom companies, Fuel Trust and Flores, is what I want to discuss, so thank you very much for the opportunity. So Fuel Trust is a company which is actually trying to tell the truth about bunkers. And because CO2 is such a big factor, and because the EU now taxes the amount of, based on the amount of CO2 you produce, everybody is trying to reduce it. But one part of the equation isn't just the amount of tons or the amount of tons you're saving on the vessels, it's the actual carbon intensity factor, which is actually where the tax is multiplied from, not just from the amount of fuel. Secondly, Flores is a decarb currency, which is sector agnostic, but can be used within the maritime supply chain, and I'll quickly go through that. So going on to Fuel Trust, look, the company was one of the first to report it wasn't bunkers that caused the Dali. Okay? It worked out within, I think, 36 hours that it was due to anything but the fuel. Fuel is obviously very important from a safety perspective, and hence what we can see in terms of understanding what happens when things go wrong. Bunkers, ultimately for you as ship owners, isn't just about pushing the vessels across. It's actually the quality and the impact on the vessels, the impact on your suppliers and charterers and so forth. So what Fuel Trust has done is used, of course, AI, and has 3 worldwide patents and a US patent, which takes the fuel sample reports, your noon reports, your fuel COAs, and all the information that's on the ship today that you receive, puts it all together. I'm not a techie guy, but yeah, up in the cloud, within the software, within the patented elements, gives you a figure of a lower carbon emission factor, carbon intensity factor. So instead of 3.114 or 3.26 for heavy fuel oil, it's lower than that by about 4 to 6%. So the 4 to 6% has an impact, because obviously if you are trading spot, that's the amount that you would have to pay. Or if a charterer is chartered out, then they've got to pay it. Now, these bills are going to be paid next year, so you're building these liabilities up. And what we're trying to do here is to show or tell you the truth about the amount of carbon, not just a standard carbon intensity factor that you use within any of the verification software that's out there. So it also identifies fuel fraud because the AI also tracks where's the fuels come from, all the way from the refinery, all the way from the actual source. We also, obviously, by having a lower liability, means that it enhances the value of the vessel, okay? And then we can go. And then at the same time, commercially, it improves your CII of your ship. A 2% reduction means a one rating up on the vessel. And obviously, if you can show a lower CO2, then plenty of banks and funds want to fund your ship because it's got a lower carbon footprint. So we believe, or we know, banks will reduce their margins by 3 to 6%. The carbon, as we just highlighted, output is minimum 4%. The actual value, obviously dealing with all the, let's call it algorithm values out there, they have an enhancement based on the CII of your vessel. And finally, with the fuel fraud, you save because ultimately you know where the bunkers have come from and what issues they had, and hopefully that will reduce the time frame and the liability process which you have to go through to prove that you were right ultimately with your claim. Okay, we do two elements to it with Fuel Trust. There is a report that is 55 pages long, which basically highlights everything that your vessel has done over the last 10 years or amount of data that you produce. The example I give you is that we had 4 Suezmaxes that were rated D. These were the Ridgeby tanker vessels that they sold a few years ago. After the report, after the review, they were rated B. And then obviously they sold them for millions of dollars more than they were when they were rated D. Bunker Insights, this is where software is reviewing this on a daily basis. So you actually can see the quality of the bunkers, the actual element of CO2 that's been reported out, which is obviously lower. And we've been doing this for the last 2 years. We have over 200 ships already been using the software. In the interest of time, ultimately, we are looking to, that report is a carbon history of your vessel, right? But actually, it's also SOx, NOx, and the whole gamut of information within the bunkers. The software, it's just daily. It's integrated with StormGeo, it can integrate with every other voyage optimization fleet software out there. Okay. Let me just jump ahead. Then obviously there's the bunker chain that we're dealing with in due course. What we're here today is to ask for owners to come and work with us. We're working with Class, Lloyd's, DNV we're dealing with, Marshall Islands. So we want more owners to work with us to be able to go and prove to Class, because Class haven't given us approval for the software, but the CII is approved, and that works now. Okay, so finally on to Flores. I've got, what, 2 minutes, Ali? 2 minutes? Give me 2 minutes. So what is Flores? It's a decarb currency, sector agnostic. What this allows within the maritime industry is for, by the time you calculated your CO2, what can you do with it? You can allow your charterer to net off the cost, net off the amount of CO2 that's been created over that period. Already, I think Pacific Basin already provide the option for their charterers. This is a slightly different method because it means you can net off your scope 1, 2, and 3, okay? You as a company, my company is decarbed. I've used Flores. I've just calculated how much CO2 I've flown from London to here, my taxis, my cars, and I've worked the figure out, and I've bought my Flores and netted my carbon footprint off by investing the money through Flores into over 250 projects out there. I'll come in, okay. I'm going to jump here. Look, ultimately, there's a supply. So what happens is your calculations, you buy your Flores, and you use that, or the Flores is used then to invest into a number of projects out in the world. You get a certificate, which is being confirmed by the gold standard, Vera, Puro. Puro is owned by the NASDAQ, so there's no greenwashing here. These are world-class verification societies. And Ali's looking at me. They're just some of the projects, but there's 250 of them all worldwide. Keep on going. Let's go here. So the key takeaways, it's a bridge. So while you reduce your CO2, the gap, you can use Flores to actually net off as a company and your process, okay? So you have the power to do it. And then that's down to you and your process. Let's jump on. Any questions? We'll speak to you afterwards. But thank you very much, time. Ali's about to leave here, so appreciate that. Okay, thank you.